Hey everybody, Anthony here. Gabby is off today, so you are stuck with just me. Let's talk about the No Kings protest this last weekend. So as you may have seen from our previous post, I attended the No Kings protest along with millions of other Americans this weekend. Myself and my family attended in the Los Angeles area, although not at the main Los Angeles rally. And it was a great protest. It was very well organized. It was extremely peaceful. There was a lot of people that showed up to protest, and by all accounts, it is the same nationally. The organizers for the protest report that over 7 million people nationwide attended the No Kings protest, which is 2 million more than the previous one that occurred in June. That's a nearly 30% increase in the number of people. And I think that that increase is significant. I saw myself and lots of other creators are anecdotally reporting that in interacting with people at the protests, there was a lot more independents, there was a lot more non-MAGA Republicans, and a lot more people that were not previously at the protests that have been motivated by the Trump administration's actions over the last few months to take action against the Trump administration, and I think that that is significant. More so, Trump's response to the protest shows just how significant it was and how much attention it is grabbing nationally. Even before the protest happened, the Trump administration was trying to frame protesters as violent radical leftists and calling anybody who called the Trump administration a fascist, saying that they were Antifa and part of domestic terrorist organizations. And that was, farther from the truth. Despite the fact that millions of people were protesting, the number of arrests that happened nationwide is in the single digits. I can't find more than one or two examples of arrests total. And that is basically unheard of, in my opinion. There was very little violence from police, from protesters, which goes counter to the Trump administration's claim that it is violent radical leftists trying to do these things. Even during the protests, the Trump administration did some really shady things, and I think foremost among those was that they were firing over one of California's busiest freeways, the I-5. They were firing military ammunition over the freeways in an attempt to intimidate protesters and imply that they would be using the military to suppress protesters, especially here in California. And the Trump administration, in doing that, claimed that it was supposedly because of the 250th year anniversary of the Marine Corps celebrations, which doesn't make sense because that's not for another month. So that was just a thinly veiled excuse. It was clearly meant to intimidate, and it failed spectacularly, especially because, somewhat ironically, one of the shells that was fired exploded over the freeway and damaged J.D. Vance's motorcade. So a bit of karma there, at least. And then, of course, after the protest, you may have seen Trump's post that he posted to Truth Social of himself wearing a crown, he's calling himself a king, flying a fighter jet and dumping what appears to be feces over protesters. This was an AI-generated video that is honestly on the level of middle school insults if it wasn't being posted by the President of the United States. And when asked about the video that Trump posted, Mike Johnson responded saying that the president posts on social media to make a point, and he's one of the best people at doing that. To me, that begs the question, what is the point Trump is trying to make? Is he saying that he is a king because he's wearing a crown? Is he saying that protesters are less than human and should have feces dropped on them just because they are exercising their rights of free speech and assembly? The president and J.D. Vance have also implied that they're going to use the Insurrection Act in California to draw the military against them. And the image of him flying a fighter jet to do all these things certainly implies that as well. So all in all, I think his posting of that response really just amplifies how necessary the protests were in the first place, how correct the protesters were to be out protesting against the things that Trump is trying to do, and as Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson recently stated, how more action is needed up to and including now a general strike.